Okay, today I'm going to explain about human lymphatic system. Human lymphatic system is separated from our circulatory system. Dia berbeza. Whatever in the lymphatic system does not mix with the blood. But at some point, they will mix blood and our lymph. So let's learn about lymphatic system. What we are going to learn is to describe the pathway of lymph from tissues to blood circulatory system. Then describe the transport of lipids from small intestine into the bloodstream. Looking at the system, lymphatic system contains a network of vessels. Sama yang ni sama dengan blood circulatory system. Ada vessels. And then the liquid, the fluid that is being transported in the vessels is the lymphatic fluid. Is called lymph. From the interstitial fluids into the bloodstream. So lymph are separated from blood. Usually it comes from the fluid of interstitial fluid in between cells, and then it will enter the bloodstream later on. Dia akan campur kemudian. So there is only a few parts of the body that allow the mixture of lymphatic fluids and blood. So lymphatic system includes capillaries, lymphatic capillaries, the nodes, then the vessels, which is larger in diameter compared to capillaries. And then from lymphatic vessels, it will enter the lymphatic duct, and then baru dia akan mix with the blood at the subclavian vein. So the components of lymphatic systems are the capillaries, vessels, nodes, the fluid itself called lymph, lymphatic organs and lymphatic ducts. Jadi organs ni yang selalu jarang selalunya kita tak perasan apakah organ yang terlibat dengan sistem lymphatik kita. Learn about lymphatic fluid first. The lymph is a clear, colorless, watery fluid from interstitial fluid. Because the interstitial fluid is actually originated from blood plasma. Darah kita ada erythrocyte, blood plasma and the platelet. So the composition of lymph is almost similar to blood plasma except for erythrocyte, platelet and large protein. Okay, tidak ada erythrocyte, platelet and large protein. So the content of the lymph are mostly dissolved salts. There are lymphocytes also. Lymphocyte ni adalah components of white blood cells. Lymphocytes are white blood cells. And also fats, sebab fungsi lymphatic system kita salah satu adalah melibatkan pengangkutan lemak. Blood flows from arterioles into narrow blood capillaries. Daripada larger diameter to a lower diameter. So it creates a very high pressure. High pressure here. So the high pressure will force some of the fluid into the intercellular space. Maknanya dia keluar daripada capillary. So yang keluar daripada capillary ni dipanggil interstitial fluid. Jadi yang keluar ni mostly adalah dissolved salts dan juga lipid. Biasanya dissolved salt lah. Erythrocyte, platelet and apa tadi satu lagi? Erythrocyte, platelet and large protein will not pass through the membrane or capillary membrane. Besar, size tu besar. So when they are forced out of the capillaries, some of them can easily return to the blood capillaries. Boleh masuk balik semula. But some of the interstitial fluid will enter lymphatic capillaries. Mungkin akan masuk balik pula dekat dalam lymphatic capillaries. Okay, ni contoh dia. Blood capillaries, interstitial fluid keluar, some of them will enter the lymphatic capillaries. Some will return the blood into the blood capillary. Okay, yang tu faham Mana tentangnya? Where does the lymphatic fluid comes from? What are lymphatic capillaries? Lymphatic capillaries the lymphatic capillaries are tiny, dead and tube. Dia ada penghujung dia. They has only one cell thick. Senipis satu sel. And then only there are one-way valve. Dia ada valve to prevent backflow. The interstitial fluid will pass through the cells, the cells, and then flow one way only. The lymphatic capillaries join together to form vessels. Vessels resemble veins but has thinner walls. And vessels contain more valves sebab dia dah lebih, diameter dia lebih besar. Jadi tekanan dia lebih, air dia, laluan dia lebih banyak. Fluid cair dia lebih banyak. So they have more valves. Maksudnya dalam satu jarak yang lebih dekat ada valve. So valve is there to prevent backflow. Lymphatic vessels are joined together forming larger lymphatic ducts. Dia akan jadi bergabung, membentuk ductus lympha. Sorry Lagi pula tekak. Okay, there are two types of ducts, lymphatic ducts. Ada dua jenis. Right lymphatic duct. Okay, you pegang tulang selangka kamu tu. Tahu tak tulang selangka kat mana? Ni muka kita. Alamak, saya ingat pula muka. Ni leher kita. Bahu. So ada satu tulang kat sini kan? Inilah nama tulang selangka. Clavicle nama dia. Clavicle. Macam Naji clavicle Takut saya salah je. Mungkin C. Okay, clavicle. Nantilah. Right. So dekat sini ada lymphatic duct. So the right side is called right lymphatic duct. Right lymphatic duct allows lymph flowing from the upper right of our body into right subclavian vein. So around the area of the clavicle, kita punya clavicle bone ni ada subclavian vein. Subclavian vein ni vena yang mengandungi darah. Jadi ductus di sini, yang kanan, lymphatic duct sini, will allow the flow of lymphatic fluid into the bloodstream, through right subclavian vein. Jadi daripada right subclavian vein nanti dia terima lymphatic fluid, maka bercampurlah darah dan lymph kat situ. Lepas tu akan terus pergi ke jantung Tapi kena tengok right lymphatic duct, the lymph comes from the upper right of our body. The next diagram will show you what does it mean with the upper right body. While thoracic duct is the duct that is located on our left clavicle bone. So it allows lymph to flow from other part of the body, other ni maksudnya selain daripada upper right of the body, into the left subclavian vein, bahagian sini pula kiri. See, this is the right lymphatic duct, allows the upper right sini. Ni bahagian atas kepala, bahagian kanan badan. Ni termasuk tangan lah. Okay. So lymphatic fluid from this area will be dispensed into the right subclavian vein through right lymphatic duct, while the rest of the part of our body, termasuk bahagian kaki, the lymphatic fluid from this area will flow into the bloodstream through thoracic duct into left subclavian vein. Jadi tu pair dia tu kena ingat. Right lymphatic duct dengan right subclavian vein. Manakala left subclavian vein dengan thoracic duct. Jelas? Ada soalan?
Tak ada, madam.
Tak ada. Lymph nodes. Nodus lympha. Thank you for your response, Wazna. Nodus lympha. Nodes mostly at neck. Banyak maksudnya dia penumpuan. Tempat kat mana banyak. Mostly at neck, armpit. Dekat leher, dekat ketiak. Sebab tu kadang-kadang bila kita demam ke, sakit ke, ada lump, LUMP, ada bengkak dekat bahagian bawah telinga, leher, dan bisul ke, macam bisul ke apa, dekat ketiak atau dekat bahagian peha ni semua ada ni. So lymph node contains large number of white blood cells including lymphocytes and macrophage. Mungkin awak belum belajar immunity, tapi sepatutnya dah tahu, kalau tak silap saya dah pernah belajar apa beza macrophage dengan lymphocyte. Macrophage ni sel darah putih yang first dia akan engulf the foreign substance, antigen dengan pathogen. Yang engulf tu yang macam amoeba. Manakala lymphocyte adalah sel darah putih yang jenis akan menghasilkan antibody, yang mungkin akan menghasilkan antibody. So these two are very important in our immune system. Lymph nodes also important to filter out and then destroy any infectious or toxic materials. Infectious materials such as pathogen lah. So this is to prevent foreign particles of bacteria from entering the bloodstream and causing infection. Jadi kita tak nak darah kita tercemar. So kita asingkan dulu dalam lymphatic system in lymphatic fluid. Then kita filter dia melalui nodes. Jadi sebab tu nodes ni kalau kita ada jangkitan, nodes ni akan sometimes akan bengkak lah. Itu petanda-petanda kita ada jangkitan dalam badan. Macrophage engulf and digest the bacteria through phagocytosis, while lymphocyte produce antibody and a system that destroy the pathogens and neutralizes the toxins. So this is the close-up diagram of lymph nodes, a cross-section of it. It shows that there are sections in the lymph nodes. Ada yang, ni kawasan yang ada lymphocyte macrophage. Kemudian kita ada laluan. Laluan mesti satu hala sahaja. And last one, the lymph will pass through the lymphatic vessel, keluar daripada nodes. Ni contoh-contoh lymph node yang membengkak. Swollen lymph nodes. So you make sure that you can identify, you know which organs are included in the lymphatic system. we have primary lymphatic organs dengan secondary lymphatic organs. Primary being bone marrow and thymus, because our white blood cells are produced in bone marrow, and some will mature in the bone marrow, some will mature in the thymus, while the rest is secondary lymphatic organs that helps in filtering, and then usually in filtering for example spleen, limpa, bahasa Melayu dia limpa. Then the lymph nodes, the tonsil, adenoid dekat bahagian hidung tekak kita, Peyer's patch in the small intestine, and also includes appendix. The pathway of lymph. Lymph actually come from blood capillaries kan, sebab dia adalah cecair daripada blood capillaries, and then it becomes interstitial fluid between cells. So then from interstitial fluids, it goes to the lymphatic capillaries, and flow into lymphatic vessels, pass through lymphatic nodes, and arrive at lymphatic ducts, and then return to blood veins. At certain locations, lymphatic fluid will enter the lymphatic nodes, and then the fluid will be filtered and conducted away from the node into the lymphatic vessel and to the lymphatic ducts. Let's look at the importance of lymphatic system. Lymphatic systems is important to maintain our body fluid balance, because lymphatic vessels transport back lymphatic fluid to the blood circulatory system. Memang penting dia, memang nampak macam dia keluar daripada blood vessels in the first place, in the blood capillaries kan. Tapi dia masuk ke dalam lymphatic fluid, ada kelebihan dia, dia akan bantu untuk filter, tapi kemudian dia akan bawa balik ke dalam blood circulatory system. So this is to maintain body fluid balance. Then lymphatic system important to defend body against infection, because it has the lymphocyte and the macrophage. Okay. Lymphatic system is also important to transport lipid via lacteal. Kita akan belajar nanti apa dia lacteal. Lacteal adalah lymphatic vessel in the villi of small intestine. Nanti saya akan tunjuk diagram dia, apa yang dimaksudkan lymphatic vessel in the villi of small intestine. So the fact that you have to know, ingat balik bahawa kita punya intestine ni ada unjuran-unjuran, ada vilus. Vilus ini, lining of the vilus is the epithelial cells. Tapi dalam vilus ni, kalau saya buat close up, ni vilus. Dalam ni ada lymphatic vessel, associated with lymphatic vessel. This lymphatic vessel is called lacteal. So lacteal will help absorbing lipids and fat-soluble vitamins. Also, lipids are transported separately in lymphatic fluid and slowly added in small safe quantity to the blood circulatory system. Jadi bagusnya ada lymphatic system ni, walaupun kita makan banyak lemak, tapi tak semua kan masuk dalam blood circulatory system. Sebab tu bila kita makan lemak, sebahagian akan maintain dalam intestine, sebahagian akan masuk dalam lymphatic system, kemudian dibawa ke blood circulatory system. Jadi kalau kita detect banyak sangat dalam darah, lemak dalam darah tu yang kita akan menunjukkan masalah kesihatan. Okay. So this is the structure of the villus, lined by epithelial tissue, cells. Okay. So dalam ni yang hijau ni adalah lacteal. Lacteal also surrounded by artery, blood capillary lah. Transportation of lipid from small intestine into the bloodstream. It occurs in the lumen of the small intestine where bile salt ni adalah garam hempedu. produced by our bile bile punihan empedu, bile duct. No, sorry. Bile apa nama? Gallbladder, sorry. Gallbladder. Okay. Gallbladder dekat dengan hati tu kan. So this bile salt, garam empedu ni, it will keep fat droplet from coalescing. Coalescing ni maksudnya bercantum-cantum lah. Jadi dia mesti the lipid must be in the form of triglyceride. So in the form of droplet, titisan yang kecil-kecil lah. Kecil Then the fat droplet will break down into monoglyceride and fatty acid. So ingat balik, triglyceride dia adalah glycerol bergabung dengan tiga fatty acid. So when it breaks down into glycerol and one fatty acid only. Lepas tu tambah 2 lagi fatty acid bebas. So this breakdown of triglyceride is catalyzed by lipase. Okay. So what happened to this monoglycerol? This is monoglyceride. And then the free fatty acid. What happened to them? They will diffuse since they now have small molecular size. They are able to diffuse into the epithelial cells of small intestine. Once they are in the epithelial cells of the small intestine, macam ni ni virus di epithelial cell. So ni adalah lumen of intestine where the droplets are found. So it will enter diffuse into the epithelial of the small intestine. So once they are in the epithelial cells of the small intestine, they will combine the monoglyceride and the two fatty acids will reform triglyceride. They will combine. Dia masuk. Kenapa ada banyak kerja ni? Sebab triglyceride tu molekul yang besar. Jadi tak boleh simply diffuse into the epithelial cell of the small intestine. So they need to be broken down into monoglyceride and fatty acid, barulah boleh diserap masuk dalam sel epithelial. So once triglyceride is reformed in the epithelial cells of the small intestine, the triglyceride will be coated with phospholipid, cholesterol and protein, forming chylomicron. Kena ingat nama chylomicron adalah gabungan triglyceride coated with phospholipid, cholesterol and protein. So this is where our cholesterol is important. Then the chylomicron will be transported out of the epithelial cells by exocytosis. Dia akan dikeluarkan daripada epithelial cell tu secara exocytosis about transport. When they are transported out of the epithelial cells, they will pass through the epithelial cell into the lacteal. The chylomicron will enter the lacteal. Inside the lacteal, it will combine ataupun bergabung dengan lymphatic fluid, the lymph. So the combination of chylomicron and lymph is called chyle. Chyle is transported into lymphatic vessel. Okay. So the flow will run in one way into lymphatic nodes, then lymphatic ducts. From thoracic duct, chyle will enter the blood circulatory system through left subclavian vein. Okay, so bila dia masuk left subclavian vein, maksudnya adalah lymph yang dah ada chylomicron. Dah bersama dengan lipid tadi. Dia masuk dalam darah lah. Dan kemudian bila dah masuk, dia akan dipam lah oleh jantung sama ada ke seluruh badan. Okay, ada soalan tak nak tanya? Faham
Faham.
Alright, thank you. So, saya sambung. Yang ni sama penerangan dia. Dah habis.